Good morning, good morning. Let me set up our music. I did have one I wanted to play. Alright, now let's check to see who's in the chat. Got Grumpy saying he's waiting patiently. Hold on, Hale. Okay, and for those who actually have paid attention, I'm sorry, I am not on my usual game this morning. I am joined this morning for this special live stream where we remember Kevin Conroy and the impact he had on pretty much all of us. I'm joined with an old friend of mine, Sean Stackhouse.
Yes, thank you for having me.
I'm looking forward to this all week.
Me too. Yeah, it's been crazy. Have you been revisiting his works like I have this week?
Not as much as I would like to, and I will completely own that. I have been kind of burning the candle at both ends with real life stuff.
I understand. Yeah. It's amazing how much stuff there actually is, though. I've gone through like the archives, and like from Batman the Animated Series up until I can't even remember the last thing he did as Batman. It may have been Justice League versus the Fatal Five or something, but there's so much content, and that's just good for everybody.
Well, this is actually one of the reasons why I was really excited to have you on about it, because you have the similar, grew up watching this like I did.
Yeah, this was a huge part of
like, shoot, you probably remember Mark Hamill as the Trickster.
I do. I do. As soon as I saw Batman the Animated Series and I heard the Joker voice, I was like, that sounds like the Trickster from The Flash. And yep, it sure was.
I did the same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah. You take that water.
I mean, Kevin Conroy was obviously a very private person because, I mean, there was no news about him being sick, at least none that I had ever came across. And just boom, one day, Kevin Conroy passes away at 66. It's like, what?
I know.
Yeah. And you know what really kind of disappointed me about some of the fandom was the fact that if you were like a big Batman the Animated Series fan, you already knew that he was gay. But when the article says he was survived by I don't know if it was his husband or his partner, like some of the fandom like really showed their
What colors?
Yeah. And I was like,
the pride terminology, but
I was like, what does it matter? It doesn't. Oh, your cat. That's how you're gonna like clean up the paint. Yeah, with the paws. But I was like, this has no impact on how he's played Batman over the 30 years. I mean, you listen to his vocal performances as Batman, and I mean that is like 100% like masculine,
I will completely admit I don't delve a huge amount into celebrity lives outside of just in general.
Sure.
So I really didn't know that that he was gay.
Well, yeah, and I only came across it because I was just reading something that was written about Mask of the Phantasm some years ago, and it just happened to mention like a little blurb that he was gay, and I was like, huh, I did not know that, and that's as far as it went.
Yeah, for me, it's obviously one of those things that's not a big deal for me because I have been very vocal about the fact that I myself am on the rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
I was engaged to a female at one point.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, I just don't understand how, like, finding this out, like, people who have been hardcore fans of his Batman are now, like rethinking their entire fandom when it comes to Batman the Animated Series and Kevin Conroy's legacy. And that just makes zero sense to me.
People just they just lately, I'm just finding everyone wants to have a reason to be upset about one thing or another.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. But I mean, they can do what they want. People are always going to do what they want to do, but as far as I'm concerned, I mean, he is going to be the Batman of my lifetime. He's played Batman longer than anybody. And and I will freely admit, I love Keaton, and Batman the Animated Series would not be around if it weren't for the Keaton films.
Yep.
But Kevin Conroy is still, if I had to choose between Keaton and Kevin Conroy's Batman interpretation, it would be Kevin Conroy.
And I think you and I have had that conversation before. At least I know I have with Chris.
Yeah.
Where in the, who is your Joker? Who's your top Joker? Mm-hmm. And I know at the time they were talking about live action Jokers, but I'm sorry, when it comes to both Batman and Joker, and for me also Cyborg, you cannot, these are the ones that we set the standard by.
Yes.
And anyone who wants to deny that, is particularly when it comes to Batman. How many people were complaining that Batfleck was, killed people off? Because the only version that didn't was Kevin Conroy's.
Yeah, he would hurt you really, really bad. I mean, that was it.
Yeah.
I mean, you might wish that you were dead, what I mean, but he would not kill you.
Yeah, he was, well, setting aside, Adam West, because that's a whole different bucket right there.
Of course.
Yeah, every other live action Batman killed.
Yeah, I mean, for a long time, people didn't think Keaton's Batman killed, and I understand if you just were a casual viewer, you may not have really picked up on it, but I mean, he dropped the guy on top of the bell tower in the first movie, and then he attached a bomb to one of the circus people in Batman Returns.
That's the exact scene I was gonna mention.
Yeah.
I should have masked off his eye. No, but that's the exact scene I was gonna mention, is because Batman Returns is definitely one of my top movies.
Oh yeah, me too. I watched it again the other day, and it's still my favorite live action Batman movie.
Take a little bit of that.
And I have to tell you, I am speaking of Keaton, I'm really, really upset. I understand people have their demons that they have to deal with, but I'm freaking pissed that Ezra Miller has let the behavior get out of control so much to where it jeopardizes Michael Keaton's return as Batman, because I really, really want to see him as old man Bruce Wayne.
I do too. I mean, Ezra Miller, I'm not really sure.
I don't know if he has. I'm sorry. I don't know if they have. I hope it's a mental thing, and they're not just like a dick. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the supposed. Well, at least that's the public story of his mental health struggles, and with that, I will completely sympathize.
Yes. If it is like truly like a mental health thing, then he has my complete sympathy. I understand. We all have things like that in our lives, and especially like in 2022. Come on, life is just not getting any easier for anybody. Oh, hey, David.
Oh, hi, David. I actually figured out that I'll be able to highlight it without hopefully taking up too much. What do we got? We got John H. Shelton in the house. I'm thinking of watching Batman the Animated Series tonight. I watched 2 Tim Burton's films the other day. You know what? I highly recommend it.
Yes.
That is the series that, in my opinion, and I'm pretty sure you'll agree with me on this one, Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill and everyone was connected with the Batman the Animated Series. They are directly responsible for the DC fandom today.
Yes, the DC animated universe, I will say until my last breath, is still the best shared universe out of Marvel and modern DC. There's nothing better, in my opinion. And they did it before like anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it just baffles me that it's taken DC so long to like get it together, because it's like, guys, you did this like in the 90s, like into the early 2000s. What's your problem?
Well, still to this day, I mean, a lot of their DC, their animated movies are still on point.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, towards the beginning of lockdown, they put out Soul of the Dragon, which again...
Oh, the 70s inspired, yeah.
Yeah. And I love that movie.
It was good.
But no, yeah, in no large part, no small part being the fact that they did have Michael Jai White's Bronze Tiger, which...
Yes.
He does that character so beautifully.
Mm-hmm. I'm just a fan of Michael Jai White. I like him.
Here.
When he popped up in Arrow, I was like, okay, this is cool. This is cool because he's like a legit martial artist. So
yeah.
he's not faking all those moves.
Man's a beast. You gotta love it.
I mean, the first time I saw Black Dynamite, I was like, I'm sold. Anybody remember White and Spawn? No, I don't.
Thank you. White and Spawn.
I'm not a huge Spawn fan. I've seen the movie multiple times, but I don't know much of the mythology.
Yeah, I'm the same way. As much as there's a whole lot of cheese when it comes to the originals, like the Spawn movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have watched the heck out of that.
Yeah, I mean, that was a young Michael Jai White.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I'm surprised that, because that was in the late 90s when that came out. I'm surprised that movie like was actually made back then, like as far as like the content. I know that the movie was not nearly as dark as Todd McFarlane would want it to be, but still for the times, that was pretty dark. I mean, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I was just going to say, I mean, as an example, just a few years before that, you had places like McDonald's, like backing out of their deals with Warner Brothers to sell Batman Happy Meals because Batman Returns was too dark to sell Happy Meals. And I was like, no, it's not. You guys are dumb. I want my Happy Meal.
I want my Catwoman Happy Meal.
It's exactly.
Actually, I drank from that cup for the longest time.
Lucky.
I don't remember whether it was a theater cup or whether it was the Happy Meal one, like the McDonald's one. I can't remember, but that was because her Catwoman, which was just,
it's the best.
Yes. And I will completely own that was a moment that shook me, because I was really against the idea of Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman for the longest time.
Really?
Yeah. Because I started off like running back home from school during lunchtime to catch, the Adam West series over lunch.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, clearly reruns, but...
Oh, yeah. So, like, Julie Newmar, Eartha Kitt, Lee Merriweather. Those were your Catwomen.
Oh, yeah. Julie Newmar, definitely at the top one for me.
Mine, too. Yeah. Yeah. Well, like, the summer that the first Keaton film came out, I was like, that summer, that we had a channel here in the States called the Family Channel back then, and like they would run blocks of the old 66 series like every night. So I would watch that like all summer leading up until the release of the first Keaton film. And my dad and I went to go see it, and it was, to my delight, it was nothing like it. It was so different, nothing that I had ever seen before. And like, because I hadn't read like the Frank Miller Dark Knight comic at that point. And I was like, wow, this is so cool. And yeah.
Okay, let's see.
Because people didn't want, they were freaking out that Michael Keaton was cast as Batman. They're like, Mr. Mom?
I know.
But he killed it. He did a great job.
He was really unexpected as that.
Very much.
Because I saw Mr. Mom in the theater. Should I probably have not? Yeah.
It's a great movie, though. I love it.
It is. And
I love the scene where he says, I told you not to talk to my kid that way. And he punches a guy.
John H. Shelton says 1997 was the Spawn film.
Oh, that sounds right. Yeah,
I remember being in high school about it, and everyone was just... actually, I'll go back to that one. Everyone was just in awe. And up still to this day, I'm in awe of the graphics they did for that film.
Mm-hmm.
Especially knowing what was available at the time. I mean...
Oh, yeah.
I did hexadecimal not that long.
There was so much bad CGI back then.
Yeah. Just like, yeah, because I drew hexadecimal not that long ago, and that was the animation that was like Reboot, the show Reboot, which again was right around that time. So for the level of detail that they had in that cape was just still is absolutely stunning. And to this day, we actually we still struggle to see a lot of equally nice. They came back for Batman Forever. I remember getting the collector cup.
Yeah, I know I had the Riddler, Batman, and Robin for those. Yeah.
David coming in with a question. I like that. Would you rather live in Gotham or Metropolis? Metropolis, no doubt.
I would like to have residences in both cities, because sometimes it might be fun to live in Gotham, but for the majority of the time, it's probably better to stay in Metropolis.
Yeah. You know exactly why I'm saying in Metropolis, no doubt. There are way many crazies.
Yes.
I don't even know why they bother with Arkham Asylum, because the whole town is,
I know. I mean, it's this huge mental health hospital that has absolutely no security. Everybody's always breaking out.
No, then you get the problem with, the the staff that works there,
Yep.
hello, Harley, which is again another major society impact that the animated series has still to this day, because that's where Harley was born. Was that particular animated series? She was there first, and then they introduced her into the comics later.
That is true. Yeah, she was never intended for anything other than the animated series at first, and then she was a hit with the fans.
She became such a fan favorite.
Yeah, I think they've pushed a little too hard on like the Harley button in like the past several years as far as live action goes.
Yeah.
Because she is, as great as Harley is, she is not a replacement for the Joker. They've just and I love Margot Robbie's interpretation. Well, in the first Suicide Squad, more so than like Birds of Prey. I did not like that film. I did not like anything in that film.
I am one of the few that actually sees the good in that movie, but that is part of my trademark.
Yeah. But I did I liked how she played Harley in the James Gunn Suicide Squad. But I don't know. I mean, Harley to me has never struck me as like a franchise leading character. Maybe that's just me. Maybe that's the problem I'm having with like the character, like leading movies and stuff. And it has nothing against the actress. It's just the character. It's just Harley Quinn. Yeah, she sells some comic books, but how much is really being sold? I don't know. I think she's great. Like, if you wanted to do like Gotham City Sirens.
I think the biggest problem when it came to Birds of Prey is the same problem that really I've noticed was a reoccurring thing even as far back as James Gunn's Suicide Squad. Well, not James Gunn, David Ayer's Suicide Squad. In that there was a lot of interference from the heads at Warner.
Oh yeah, they were getting in their own way a lot back then. Up until just recently. I mean, we have to see what happens under David Zaslav, but they might still be getting in their own way.
And you know what? From everything I've heard, because the crowds I hang out in, and even judging by James Gunn's tweets and his teasers, because God, he's becoming an absolute delight to follow.
Yes, he is.
I'm actually more confident in how they're heading out.
I am too. I am. I think, well, day one, the first tweet James Gunn put out is like a little panel of Clark Kent sitting at his typewriter, I was like, yeah, he knows what needs to happen. They need to really focus on Superman and make that right. And so, yeah, I think, well, and also James Gunn knows how the secret sauce is made at Marvel, not that he wants to necessarily apply that direct formula, but he knows how it's done.
But the reason why I was one of the few that was initially actually semi-excited about Gunn is because in many aspects, he's one of us.
Yes.
Anyone that if anyone, like what was it, 10 years ago, you'd said, oh yeah, we're gonna do Guardians of the Galaxy, and 90% of people would have been like, who? Yeah. This man knows the most obscure characters. Like I got to sit in on Fandom, that first one.
Mm-hmm.
And I will completely own, I had to Google some of the characters that they were showing. I'm like, okay, this is one I have never heard of before. And he did right by so many of them.
Yeah.
So anyone who's that big of a fanboy nerd, bring it on.
Well, I mean, he made some really deep cuts for his Suicide Squad movie, like Polka Dot Man. You know,
You know the exact one I was referring to.
Yeah. and I mean, people have argued that like maybe he misused Starro, but the fact that he freaking used Starro to begin with,
yeah, the fact that yeah,
come on, and Starro looked amazing. So yeah, I have to disagree with you, Integrity 101. Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 is not inevitable.
Oh, that is Integrity's version of Hey Y'all.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't see Snyder coming back to Warner Brothers
I have faith.
anytime soon.
I mean, yeah, he is still under contract with Netflix right now.
Mm-hmm.
So there is obviously no one in the industry is going to turn around and go, "Oh yes, let's dump this contract. Let's dump this absolute lucrative contract I've got right now for this other thing." They're not even going to entertain talking about it.
Well, also you see like how like the hatchet work that David Zaslav has done when it comes to the finances of DC. He's like canceled films, and he like, so he knows exactly how much the Snyder films made. They all underperformed, and probably Justice League, or not Justice League, but yeah, Justice League definitely lost money, I'm sure, and Batman v Superman definitely lost money. Man of Steel may have like about evened out, I'm not sure, but they were not the financial hits that they were going on, and that's why they started getting in their own way at the executive levels. So David Zaslav wants somebody in there that has a clear vision, that knows how to interpret these superheroes in a traditional way, I think, and that's one of the things that he's wanting to do with Superman, and I'm all for that.
Oh yeah, I mean, it is some of the he did originally have another, I think it was James Wan, I think, that he was originally planning to head DC. And Zaslav has a direct plan already that he wants to do, and if this, I think whoever it was, he wanted to do a full reboot, and he's like, yeah, no.
Why? I mean, a lot of fans have said the same thing, like, why not just do a full reboot? But then I can see like how like that might work in the long run, but I mean, you already have like some actors that the fans have connected with, so why not keep the ones that work and just recast the rest? And from what I've heard, like all along, the Flash movie has always been meant to be a soft reboot. They were going to erase some characters and carry over other characters.
At this point, nobody really knows full on what's going to happen. I mean, with the Flash.
Yeah.
I mean, there are rumors that Batfleck. I can't remember all the cameos that are supposed to be in there at this point.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's been no confirmation on whether or not Ben Affleck did sign on for like a trilogy. Like, I don't know if he's back for cameos or not. I mean, there honestly hasn't even been like an official announcement from Warner Brothers, like super officially, about Henry Cavill. But I mean, like, he's obviously back, because I mean, I saw Warner Brothers Instagram liking Henry Cavill's Instagram post. You know, I was like, okay.
They also did have that live with him and I think it was James Gunn and Zack Snyder after Black Adam came out.
Yeah.
Which was essentially them welcoming Henry back to the fold, and that was just absolutely awesome to watch.
Yeah. And I'm glad Henry's back because I think Henry has what it takes to play a good Superman. He just was given a subpar script. And no disrespect to Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder has said there on film, you can find it on YouTube, about how he wanted to deconstruct Superman. You know, and that's just not how you approach Superman, in my opinion.
Honestly, I really do like, and you and I have been on opposing sides on this one since day one. I really actually do like how they did Man of Steel, and Zack's Justice League.
I like Man of Steel for an origin film, like Clark figuring out like what he's here for. You know, it was very much like an emo compressed version of Smallville, and that's probably why I liked it, because I love Smallville. But as far as Zack's Justice League, it had some good moments, but I mean, it was way too bloated. I mean, there was so much that they could have cut out. And this is just me being a comic book fan. The black suit with the cape really pissed me off, because the black suit does not have a cape. It's a regeneration suit. It does not have a cape. But yeah, I mean,
and the motor showing.
Yeah. But I mean, both Justice League versions are a mess. The only thing I think is that at least Joss Whedon at the end was able to show that Henry Cavill could play the bright, hopeful Superman.
And we got retro integrity saying definitely happening. I told people it would be making a serious shakeup at WB. The execs would be fired. People laughed. Told people Cavill and Affleck would be back. People laughed, but anyway, yeah. Integrity, you and I do float around in a lot of the same circles. We listen to the same crowds, and honestly, either way, I am very excited for the direction that they show us that DC is going. And we got Rhett from Nerd Girl in the house. How you doing? And anyone, if you guys have not checked out her channel, she is absolutely on point with her information. I love it.
Nice.
And her takes on. Yeah, they blundered the theatrical release of both BVS and Justice League. Zaslav getting his house in order, and that takes time. Whether it's, cleaning up your own house or cleaning up a multi-billion-dollar studio.
I'm looking at Box Office Mojo for Batman vs Superman. So the budget was $250 million. 250 million on BVS, and it made worldwide 873, 637, 528. So the budget 250, you have to put another like 150 or 200 on top of that for advertising. So even though it made like almost 900,000, which did underperform, by the way, because the first time Superman and Batman are on screen together should have made $1 billion just in that aspect alone. So yeah, I don't understand where you're coming from saying that it was not a financial failure, because yeah, it should have made all the monies with those two characters.
And it should have, it should have definitely performed better. And I think that's actually where we had started having the first sights of people just looking to trash for the sake of it.
And honestly, I think, look, Warner Brothers, they committed to Zack Snyder. You know, they, for whatever reason, they're like, okay, Zack, you're the guy to, you know, helm the DC universe moving forward. I think Zack was treated very poorly by Warner Brothers. I don't think that is a question at all. I think, you know, for better or for worse, they should have let Zack finish what he started. And I don't mean like how they let him finish the bloated Snyder cut and put it on HBO Max. They should have stopped meddling and just given him room to either sink or swim on his own. Mm-hmm. You know, as far as the theatrical releases were happening, because that has been Warner Brothers' biggest issue, like since launching the DC Extended Universe. They can't get out of their own way.
Here's hoping that the new regime actually learns from that.
Mm-hmm. But I will say, like, as far as casting goes, he cast a great Superman. He cast a great Wonder Woman. Aquaman is, I like Jason Momoa. I just wish he would have been cast as Lobo instead. Lobo would have been way better, I think, for Jason Momoa. But I like his Aquaman, and Ben Affleck's Batman, I like. We just haven't seen enough of it to really make, I don't know. I'm looking forward. I was one of the people that was very much looking forward to like his trilogy before it became Pattinson's movies. You know, I wanted to see his vision. I did not care for the Batman. I did not like that movie. That is the first Batman movie that is almost completely unwatchable for me.
That's not my Riddler.
No, that's not. I mean, that when I saw the trailers for that movie, I was like, this is like Hush mixed with something else. Before I knew it was the Riddler, I was like, what? Who is this?
The Riddler, the Penguin with a Cockney accent? No.
Yes. Oh my God. And
I mean, as soon as they found out that they were going to have Colin Farrell in it, I'm like, oh crap, this is going to be trash.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, at least that's on its own earth. So, you know, whatever Matt Reeves decides to do, you know, that should not impact like the prime DC universe. So it is what it is, I guess.
Sorry, I am trying to keep an eye on the chat here. It's
sure.
No, I'm largely apologizing to the chat because I don't know where I dropped off. Zaslav getting his house in order. DCO is Cavill back. Black Adam's kind of a financial disappointment. Momentum has always been the problem.
Well, the thing about Black Adam is that I don't know like what the majority of people were expecting, because unless you're a comic book fan, you have no idea who Black Adam is. You know, unless you are like a hardcore maybe Shazam fan or the original Captain Marvel, you know, you're not going to know who Black Adam is. He has not been like a big character outside of like in the average normie world, you know, like comic book readers know who Black Adam is. So, and I don't think Zaslav expected Black Adam to make all the money, you know.
I think a lot of us didn't expect it to make all the money.
Yeah, I was hopeful. I mean, after the first fandom, with all of the anticipation around it, you know, especially with the rumors of like, even back then, of like what the Rock being in the DC universe would mean for Henry Cavill's return because of the same management. I said, like, during the first fandom that, if it wouldn't surprise me if it did hit $1 billion, just depending on like how Superman was involved. I think if Superman was involved in maybe a little bit more of the film, like maybe like the full third act, maybe it would have gotten a little closer. But I think for the type of film that it is, I think it did a respectable job.
I'm with you.
And I mean, honestly, I think the sole purpose of Black Adam, for me anyway, was to show the world that Superman's back.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't the original. I mean, that was a reshoot that happened like literally a month before the movie hit the theaters, because contracts and stuff. The old regime, before Zaslav, they did not want Henry Cavill back at all. They kept saying no. Dwayne Johnson said that he had been trying to work for 6 or 7 years to get Henry Cavill back, and he kept being told no.
There's a lot more and more it's coming out that there's a lot of people they did not want back.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I recently saw an interview, I think it was between Keanu Reeves and Jimmy Kimmel. I'm not sure who the actor, it might have been Kimmel, might have been somebody else. But the question came up to Keanu of, if you could go back and play anyone, who would you want? Who would you want to play? And he said, absolutely anyone. It would be Constantine.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And the host said, well, maybe, you never know. Because the entire audience just absolutely blew up about it. Like, they were so excited watching it. So was I. I mean, that is one of my top movies. Because it's just fun. And
I like
it. Lucifer actually kind of looks like my stepbrother, makes it even more fun.
I like. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But the host says, "Well, you never know. Maybe it'll happen." And Keanu gets so dejected, and he goes, "I've tried. And just how he says it, I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah,
it was painful.
And now he's doing it. He's doing Constantine 2, which I find very odd. After all of these years, they're doing a Constantine 2 when we've had a more accurate portrayal in the Arrowverse by Matt Ryan. I liked his Constantine
a lot.
Keanu, like, when I saw that in the theater, and it took me like halfway through the movie to realize exactly what it is I'm watching. Because I knew of Hellblazer, but like, it wasn't clicking with me until like halfway through. I was like, okay, they're doing a less comic book accurate version of Constantine and Hellblazer. All right, I get it now. But yeah, it's a fun movie. It's a fun movie once you realize what you're watching.
I admit, when I first watched Constantine, I didn't know it was a DC thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I will completely own that. Why am I touching that girl? Loading up on the block.
I don't know if Ray Fisher is going to be in the Flash or not. If he is going to be in the Flash, it's probably to be completely erased. But I don't have a problem with Ray Fisher personally. I did not like his portrayal as Cyborg, and I don't think. And it's okay. Let me take that back. It's not his portrayal as Cyborg. I've never liked Cyborg in the Justice League.
Mm-hmm.
He's a Teen Titan to me. and I feel like it should have been a Green Lantern. You know, for the first big Justice League live action film, it should have been a Green Lantern instead of Cyborg.
See, for me, it's if you're going to start talking the mother boxes, that and you're going to bring those into account, then you kind of need Cyborg. That's for me.
Well, yes. I mean, the story, I cannot deny, does call for a Cyborg involvement when it comes to having to talk to the mother boxes. Yeah. But I mean, the New Gods, we just need, honestly, truthfully, I think it would have been better if they would have given us a New Gods movie before Justice League, because they tried to do too much with like the New Gods lore in Justice League, and without setting it up properly first, because people are like, what? I don't understand. What is this? Again, it goes back to normies not knowing comic book.
And I think actually to a certain point, I don't think it's really necessary that they know all of the lore that the rest of us do.
Yeah, they shouldn't have to. They should be able to make these movies in a way that everybody can enjoy them. But the comic book fans can get the deeper references, you know. Because I mean, that's how they've always made the superhero movies in like early DC, you know. Christopher Reeve's Superman was accessible by everyone. Michael Keaton's Batman was accessible by everyone. So was Val Kilmer and George Clooney.
Morning, Lumpy.
George Clooney. But yeah, they were widely accessible.
I'm not sure if we're allowed to talk about George Clooney. I mean,
I know. I know. The best part of that movie still for me was Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze. Even though he was written horribly, I mean, at that point in time, that if it would have been a good script, he would have been the perfect Freeze, I think.
He had the potential, but I'm sorry, for me, Mr. Freeze will never be a punny jokester.
No. Mr. Freeze...
they completely lost me with the polar bear slippers. That being said, I want a set, but...
Oh, yeah. No, Mr. Freeze will forever be locked in my mind as he was portrayed in Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah.
I think with the episode Heart of Glass or something, when they were talking about his wife Nora, and yeah, that was such an emotional episode, and you know, you kind of understood like the motivation of Freeze, and yeah, that if they can see, here's the thing, we've had over 30 years of the animated DC animated universe that has been so like widely loved. Why can't they just like start adapting some aspects out of the DC animated universe and make those work? It's already there. It already has a huge fan base.
This is the same argument I've heard from the Star Wars fans.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, we're talking about the EU. Yeah.
I've been hearing that same conversation out of Star Wars fans for so long now.
But I mean, the fact that the DC animated universe was the first connected universe before like the MCU, you know, and before DC tried to do it as well, and it was successful, and it's still widely loved, you know. I just don't see why they're not, you know, at least talking to some of the writers that are still around, saying, you know, and picking their brains on how they should handle certain character arcs.
No.
Because I understand you don't adapt like they're never going to adapt a full comic book, you know, and make it comic book accurate. You know, they're gonna take bits and pieces, and that's fine. But all I ask is that you don't like screw with those bits and pieces too badly, you know. At least make them recognizable.
Integrity This is why I love hanging out. This is why I love having you around in the chat, because you have such a unique perspective. I used to hate Batman and Robin. As I've gotten older, I now see it as an updated version of the Adam West show. In that context, it's a fun film.
Yeah, you know what? You're right, Integrity. And
that's not because, yeah, even the absolute cliche, they were like, what was it, an ice cream factory? That is something that Freeze was staying in. That is something that was right out of the Adam West show.
Mm-hmm. And also, I mean, that's that whole thing started with Jim Carrey's The Riddler in Batman Forever, because he was basically channeling Frank, what was his name, Frank Gorshin, who played the Riddler in the '66 Adam West. He was that version of Riddler, just on like drugs, you know. I mean, so yeah, it was a very, very campy performance. So yeah, I mean, if you go back, I like Batman Forever. I've always liked Batman Forever, and Batman and Robin. I will still watch it occasionally, and I think you're right. If you watch it with that type of context, it can be totally enjoyable. Enjoy it for what it is, not what you want it to be.
Yeah. I'm always right. No kidding. I like to joke. You know, again, absolute respect. Good morning, Megatron. How you doing? Another member of the art community here.
Oh, nice.
Grumpy as well is a fantastic member and a mod extraordinaire.
Nice.
He's actually been. I have a Rainbow Bright DC Lantern Corps crossover that I have been meaning to get to for way too long.
That would be interesting.
And he has been working on his version of them in a chibi form.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All the while, I've been trying to finish the Scarecrow Batman. It's been difficult to copy the animated series style. It's a skill wall I got now.
Oh, the Scarecrow design in Batman the Animated Series. Yeah, I can see how that would be kind of tough.
Yeah.
The dimensions of like that mask and like the bushy hair and stuff. Yeah, that would be a tough one to crack.
Okay.
It's starting to look like Batman.
Yeah. If I could learn to keep my body parts out of the side. Like, I want to keep the background fairly loose because focus point is for me Batman.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go into full detail on that.
That's interesting, Integrity. I will have to check that out because I am a fan of Batman Forever, and I know the Schumacher cut was supposed to be a lot different than what we actually got released.
I have heard a lot of talk of the Schumacher cut, and I admit I am skeptical on it. Like, I will also acknowledge, though, I was skeptical on the Ayer cut until Jesse of Cut Ayer, I think it was, talked to me and showed me what he knew.
Well, I had always heard there was a lot of that film, the Ayer film, like left on the cutting room floor.
Oh yeah.
So I know that the Ayer cut was more accessible than the Snyder cut ever was because, I mean, they had to shoot a lot for they had to shoot $80 or $80 million worth more of a budget pickup scenes to finish out the Snyder cut and the CGI. The Ayer cut, on the other hand, was already shot for the most part, from what I understood. It just ended up being cut. But you know what? I mean, if they give us the Ayer cut, I would love to see it.
Oh yeah.
I'm totally down for that. And if they can ever come up with the Schumacher cut, I would love to see that. Because
I'd be open to seeing it, because I do. I am sorry. I'll let you finish.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, Batman Forever. While I enjoy it, that's when it's like a point that starts to divide the Batman fans, because the first two Keaton films, because keep in mind, these 4 Batman films are supposed to be the same Batman. It's the same universe. You've got the same Alfred, you've got the same Commissioner Gordon, although you don't have the same Harvey Dent.
I would have liked to have seen that Harvey Dent.
yeah, me too. But so this is when the divide started to happen with the Batman fans, because they wanted to go, Warner Brothers wanted to go more kid friendly, and the Batman fans were like, no, let's, because Batman 3, the Keaton said the script that was pitched to him was going to be even darker than Batman Returns.
Oh, that would have gone over well.
I know. And then when Tim Burton dropped out, Michael Keaton dropped out, and that's when they just went with Schumacher.
My main problem with what was it, Batman Forever, was largely Two-Face.
Yeah.
That was an odd choice. Because I was not fond of Tommy Lee Jones's Two-Face.
I wasn't either. And Tommy Lee Jones freely admits that he only did it because his kid wanted him to. He had no other interest other than doing something for his kid. So, yeah. So the passion or the motivation really wasn't there for the part. And it kind of shows. I mean, at least Jim Carrey, I mean, he is the Riddler. I mean, for better or for worse, he is the freaking Riddler.
No worries, integrity. It's Two Finance, BF Red Book Edition. It's a great fan edit by a great editor. Prefer the virtual work print. It restores the scenes to their proper, originally intended order.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
That does actually sound amazing. Grumpy says, loving my Batman piece. Always jumping out when it came to trying to draw Bruce Timm's style. I will admit, just to get this right, I did trace it out because I wanted to get it on point.
David, yeah, you're right. Tommy Lee Jones and Jim Carrey did not get along on set. That is what I've heard from multiple people.
And I think Megatron is a good point. The script was a big problem there too.
Yeah, because Tommy Lee Jones is a very well-established actor.
He's a talented actor.
Yeah, very, very much so. And so if you would have given him something that would have like invigorated his acting senses, I think he would have delivered something amazing. Honestly, I thought Jim Carrey's best work was early in the film. I thought he got worse as a film. Yeah, I'm with you there, Integrity. As the Batman Forever goes on, he went like a little too far, I think. Like once he started like absorbing everybody's memories and what have you, he leaned at that point in time, he leaned a little too heavy into his Jim Carrey-ness, I think. he didn't serve the character. He was serving himself.
Mhm.
But I mean, that's just that was how Jim Carrey was at that point in time. The fact that for the majority of the movie, and at least until the last half, we got a decent live action Riddler from Jim Carrey without him like doing his normal slapsticks, like making Ace Ventura version of the Riddler. You know, I think you know, his performance was better than I thought it was going to be at the time. But yeah, the last bit, not so much.
Ace Ventura version of the Riddler. Now I've got the image of the Riddler. You know the scene I'm talking about, turning around and
Yep.
asking Batman a question.
Yeah. Riddle me this.
No.
Yeah.
Like Jim is one of those ones I never want to see. I don't like seeing him in serious roles. It was like Robin Williams. You never want to see him in a truly serious role because that's a really dark place for these guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
The number 23 was.
Yes, I
It's
know.
an excellent movie, but that took him down a very dark path because that's actually he is one of those 23. I know there's a term for it, one of these 23 believers.
There's a lot of interesting things to know about Jim Carrey. Like he gives like full interviews and speeches about things that you would have like that you would have never guessed.
Yeah, he's a lovable knucklehead.
Yeah. And that's why like when he came back like in true Jim Carrey form in Sonic the Hedgehog, I was like, this is cool. All right. You know, this is, I mean, I love Sonic the Hedgehog, but I mean, Jim Carrey carried both movies for me personally.
The scene I hated the most was Two-Face. Let me see. That's when he was in Wayne Manor, kept flipping the coin because he wanted to kill Batman. Yeah, that's. But the coin didn't land the way he wanted. Yeah, that. Because the coin is law.
That's true.
And that right there is exactly why you need to have somebody both on scene and on the script, like writing the script, of somebody who knows about the characters.
Yes. I think that's why Stargirl has been so good, because Jeff Johns is heavily involved in the TV show. You know, he created that version of Stargirl based on his sister that passed away. Her name was Courtney, and you know, he did the comic book run, and this has been, I think, as comic book accurate to the source material as you could possibly get on from a CW show. I'm sad to see it ending. I like Stargirl.
I admit I didn't get a real chance to get into it as much as I would have liked to.
It's not for everybody, but I've really, really enjoyed it.
No, CW is kind of hard to track down here, or at least it is for me.
Well, I mean, for the most part, with CW shows, you're not missing a whole lot. But the Arrowverse has had its shining moments over the past 10 years, for sure.
I do question the people at CW, I mean.
Yeah. I do too. I question so much when it comes to later seasons of, say, like The Flash. I'm like, what are we doing? This is supposed to be about The Flash, right? Why are we focusing on these supporting characters for multiple episodes and not The Flash? And why does Iris have speed all of a sudden? You know, it's like, come on.
It's also like the Painkiller show. They were originally going to follow up Black Lightning with Painkiller.
Yes, they were.
And honestly, that would have been amazing if they had done it. Because he was definitely the highlight of the show. He was I'm sure there's not a lot that's going to argue with me when I say he was much more likable than Jennifer.
Oh yeah. I agree.
I was actually sad the first time he died.
Yeah. I mean, his character arc, as short as it was actually pretty well developed.
Yeah, he had one of the best character arcs in the series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Also, that villain. I do not know the actor's name, and I feel completely disrespectful in admitting that. But that actor who did who did Whale, what's it, Thomas Whale?
Oh, Tobias Whale.
Tobias Whale. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God, he was so good.
Like, Black Lightning is one of those shows that definitely emphasizes why you need a strong bad guy.
Yes. Tobias, his interpretation of Tobias Whale is better than the majority of the villains in the MCU, because, and I'm not an MCU hater. I'm just pointing out the fact that the MCU has an Achilles heel, and it is their villains.
Mm-hmm.
Their villains you can count the good villains on one hand out of like their 20 some odd movies.
And you can count an even shorter list of the good villains that actually stayed alive past that movie.
Exactly. Yes. I mean, one of the best villains of all time, and this is Marvel, Netflix Marvel. It was David Tennant's Purple Man. He was just in Jessica Jones. He was so creepy and like, oh my God. And I expect nothing less from David Tennant. He's a fantastic actor.
It's your birthday?
Yeah. Oh. Thank you, Integrity. I appreciate
it. I wish I'd known. We'll just started off with happy birthday.
Even though I disagree with you on literally everything, that's okay. We can disagree.
Birthday be celebrated.
The thing is, Integrity, I enjoy talking with people that I don't agree with more so than I do agree with, because sometimes, if you're lucky, both people walk away with a different perspective on things.
Mm-hmm. And that's kind of really actually the more important aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Is that you keep an open mind and you learn something from other people.
Yeah. Like, I am not Integrity. I can tell you have a lot of love for the Snyderverse, and that's cool. I am not like one of the people that hate the Snyderverse. I hate what essentially people call the Snyder cult, because they are Zack Snyder fans first and DC fans second. But if Zack Snyder, say he came back like next week and David Zaslav says, okay, I want you to do visuals for, this movie. Zack Snyder's visuals are always on point. Mm-hmm. I think as long as Zack Snyder does not write the movie, then I'm fine with his involvement. Zack Snyder, to me, he just didn't understand the essence of DC characters, that at least that we were able to see so far. Maybe as he would have gotten further along, if they would have let him, maybe he would have found his rhythm. But unfortunately, they cut things too short.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not opposed to seeing Zack Snyder work like in a visual aspect on any of these movies, because I mean, he does great things. But thank you for all the happy birthdays in the chat, guys. I appreciate it. another year on this spinning rock.
That's awesome.
Yes. Yeah, I will agree. He is one of the best visual directors ever.
Oh yeah. I mean, 300 is still one of my favorite chick flicks to this day.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I'm not even a huge fan of like the Watchmen, like Alan Moore's Watchmen. Even the comic book, I was never a fan of, really. But like that is like the best adaptation, like from source material to the screen, that I have ever seen of a comic book movie. Zack Snyder did an amazing job on The Watchmen. Even though I'm not I don't like the film, but it's an amazing adaptation.
I did not know much about The Watchmen before that movie came out. I mean, there is so much comic book wise that it is hard to say. You know, I know everything about everything when it comes to comics, and anyone who, for me, in my opinion, anyone who claims otherwise, the claims that they do, with one person exception, I will give him complete allowance on that.
Okay.
Because I'm sorry, he's not human. Because everybody else humans. Now you know who I'm talking about.
Yes.
Him will give you the allowance on knowing pretty much everything comic-wise.
Oh, I know. I mean, I'm surprised he hasn't popped up in the chat, because he just does that randomly. Yeah, any question that I've ever had on like DC or Marvel that I wasn't sure about, I'm like, I send Terrence a text. I'm like, hey, blah blah blah, and he's like, oh, and he sends me like this long explanation. I'm like, okay, cool, thank you. Any questions, I always go to him.
And I think the only reason why he generally doesn't pop up in my chat is because we don't follow each other in most of. Because I'm more Twitter. And I keep my Facebook separate from, because my Facebook is mainly my family and stuff.
Sure. And Terrence does not do social media.
Yeah.
Like, he does YouTube.
I don't know how to send out the bat signal for Terrence, or whatever the necessary signal would be for him.
Okay. Well, I will let him know that you're looking for the way to.
He's always welcome to stop by.
Yeah.
Because I want to say the man, but it feels disrespectful to call him that.
I know, because he does not like humans.
The fact that he is just about the closest thing to Brainiac I will ever probably meet, and I say it in the most loving way, is part of his charm.
Yes, I agree. Terrence is an amazing. We have had like 5 or 6 hour discussions, you know, just on DC Comics. It's insane, his vast knowledge. Let's see. Integrity says, Sean at Man of Steel thoughts. I thought it was a really good origin, explaining how Clark becomes Superman, because we have never seen, unless you watched all 10 years of Smallville, and you know, you've never seen how Clark develops and evolves from Clark Kent into Superman. Because in Christopher Reeve, you see him in that first film, you see him for a little bit on the Kent farm, and then all of a sudden he's this fully formed Superman in Metropolis. You know, so seeing this Clark Kent that just has had his powers for like he had only known how to fly for like a day or two before he had to battle Zod. You know, I think it was really good. And I think if Zach would have done a second movie, which I think they should have done a second Superman movie instead of jumping into Batman v Superman, because I think from where he ends up at the end of Man of Steel, that's setting. They could have easily made the jump to the more traditional Superman after that. In my opinion, I think that would have been seamless. But yeah, I like Man of Steel. I like. It's not my favorite Superman movie, but it's in my top 3. It would probably be number 2. I would say Superman 2, Man of Steel, then Superman the movie.
Sorry. I get into the zone when it comes to blending.
Oh, it's okay.
I know you're not going to complain about this one.
Nah. Megatron says the DC universe is supposed to be bright, hopeful, and optimistic. Not all of the DC universe. A lot of it is, but I mean, like, Gotham is not. You could argue. Okay.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say you could argue even about Central City, and definitely Starling City. And I'm not referring to the versions from the Arrowverse, because those were creative liberties, but like from the comic book, because I mean Oliver Queen is essentially he was created to be a ripoff of Batman. That's why he was the Batman of the Arrowverse. But yeah, much of the DC universe is supposed to be light and optimistic. Superman is supposed to be light and optimistic. But Batman, and that was a problem with Batman and Robin.
Mm-hmm.
Batman is not supposed to have this light, optimistic tone. At least not modern Batman.
Yeah, Batman's also not supposed to have his own credit card.
No. Integrity asks, Donner cut or Lester cut of Superman 2? Donner cut all day. I like the Lester cut, but the Donner cut does kind of take you out of the moment, like when they switched from like scene to scene, because the hairstyles are like so completely different and what have you. I don't know why they shot it like that, but yeah, I like the Donner cut, and it's getting a 4K release in 2023.
Really? Oh, that's awesome.
Well, yeah, because the first movie's already on 4K, but the other 3 movies are getting 4K release along with the Donner cut.
Nice.
Yeah, it's about time, because Batman has been on 4K for a few years now, I think. Like the first 4 films. Let's see.
No, we don't. Hated Man of Steel because of how they portrayed Jonathan Kent.
Yes, I did not like that.
Oh, man. You want to hear somebody who did not like that? Chris.
Yeah.
Well, I know you. See, you know Chris in real life, too, so I imagine you have heard it in ways that none of the rest of us have, because there's only so much you can say on YouTube.
Right. Yes. No, the way Jonathan Kent was written in Man of Steel was completely disrespectful to the character, because I mean, Jonathan Kent, when Clark saved the school bus, of his classmates, and he essentially asked, was I supposed to let them drown? And Jonathan's response was, I don't know, maybe. No, because Jonathan Kent and Martha as well, but I mean, Jonathan is Clark's moral compass. He is why he is who he is. You can't have Superman, this shining example of hope, without the morals and values instilled in him by Jonathan and Martha Kent. So yeah, when I mean, Kevin Costner's, and no disrespect to Kevin Costner, he's a phenomenal actor, but the way that Jonathan Kent was written in Man of Steel was garbage. My favorite, and I know I've mentioned this show a lot, but my favorite interpretation of Jonathan Kent on film is Smallville. I love Smallville. I know it has a lot of comic book inaccuracies, but I mean, we like before Smallville, we have never had like a really deep dive into the life of Clark Kent.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was great to see Clark being Clark and learning his powers. I enjoyed it.
I think they did really good for the characters in a number of the DC related TV shows.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know someone in the chat mentioned Gotham earlier.
Oh yeah, I liked Gotham. I didn't like Fish Mooney, who was created for the show, but I think. But yeah, other than that, I liked Gotham a lot.
I'm with you. Fish Mooney, I was happy when they finally got rid of her.
Yes, I did
Because
not.
I see that they were trying to do the same kind of concept of introducing a character that hopefully is going to be beloved, but
yeah, but ultimately was not.
No. There is something about, and I am largely going to place it on the actress.
Yes.
She does not create lovable characters.
No. Yeah, I think that's a lot of the problem with people's reaction to Fish Mooney is the fact that it was Jada. If it would have been anyone else, maybe it would have been different. I don't know.
Stood a chance, but
yeah,
she's not lovable.
No, she's not. And I mean, I don't know. I don't know her personally. She could be a fantastic person, but the way she comes off in acting, I've just never been able to connect with.
The only time I've been able to connect with her character was Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
I was a Tales from the Crypt junkie when that movie came out, so I was very stoked to see it.
You know, The Frighteners with Michael J. Fox was originally supposed to be a Tales from the Crypt movie.
I believe it.
Yeah.
That was really good.
Yeah, it's one of the...
Honestly, it was better than the second Tales from the Crypt movie.
Yeah. I saw The Frighteners in the theater when it came out because, you know, I grew up a huge Michael J. Fox fan, and when I found out he was coming back with another movie, I was like, yeah, I'm going to go see this. Mm-hmm. It was fun.
One of his last movies, too.
Yeah, I think like as far as live action goes, I think so.
Yeah.
I know he did like voice work for like Stuart Little and like the Lost City of Atlantis or whatever, like in the early 2000s.
Mm.
And of course, Spin City up until I think like 2002, something like that. But yeah, that was about it.
Button that down just a bit.
Megatron says, hated Gotham. They introduced too many villains too early, and half of them will be old men by the time Bruce becomes Batman. That is true. That is a fair criticism of Gotham.
And that was the main flaw. I mean, the one that really irritated me when it came to that point was when they introduced Harvey Dent.
Yes. Because
Harvey is supposed to be Bruce's schoolmate.
Mm-hmm.
He's not supposed to be an established lawyer while Harvey is going to school.
Yeah. And they tried to age the kid's character up too fast in the last couple of seasons.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like in the very last episode where we see Batman, you know, for a second, I'm like, I'm sorry, I I don't believe you. I don't believe that this is enough time has passed or this kid is Batman.
That being said, they gave us, honestly, for me, the best Riddler.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he was a great Riddler. I mean, it was so complex.
Penguin I warmed up to.
Yeah.
But that was the Riddler I had been wanting to see since we got Nolan on scene, on the DC scene. Because he really liked diving into those darker aspects. And the more we saw how he would take these characters and bring them into a more of a real light, the more like I could see Riddler being more along the lines of like Jigsaw in real life, and that's really what I wanted to see.
I could see that, and I think that's what they tried to do in the Batman, but it just did not work for me. I mean, that is like the worst portrayal of the Riddler for me ever.
Yeah, I've been saying for a while now, Pickle Rick is not my Riddler.
No.
Because he didn't even look like the Riddler. He looked like Pickle Rick.
Yeah. David says Gorshin, West, and Romero will always be on my favorites list. Oh yeah, because that show, like, it helped launch Batmania, and without, you can argue, without the popularity of the Adam West show, they may have not gotten around to a Batman movie until much later.
No doubt. There was a lot of experimenting media-wise that they did in the 70s or in 60s, I guess, that I am still grateful that they did, even though a lot of it really wasn't appreciated at the time. But without a lot of the TV experimentation, like the Batman and Star Trek, there was a lot of media that we would not be allowed today.
Very much, yes, I agree with you.
And even those who are like, would turn around and say, "Oh, I'm a Star Wars fan, not Star Trek." Star Wars was born because of Star Trek.
Facts. Yep. And I mean, I love Star Wars, but personally, I find Star Trek much more immersive. Like, there's way more to, like, just take a deep dive into.
That was one that Mom and we would have discussions on all the time, especially as we watched drawing a blank. Give me a second. The Next Generation.
Okay.
Because I grew up watching reruns of the original series. And then, of course, when The Next Generation came around, that was the weekly watching.
Yeah. I used to watch that, not religiously, but I would watch it like a couple of times a month at least.
And that series, like, one of the really nice things about the Star Trek universe is that each one of the different civilizations is based off of a civilization from our world, or a culture, or whatever.
Star Trek, like the original series, was way more progressive than people might think.
Yeah,
it was very, very
progressive. Such a multicultural cast was.
Oh yeah, the
Shocking.
first interracial kiss on
Mhm.
that on American television. Yeah. Grumpy Old Ninja says Sean Stackhouse, the Adam West show essentially gave us Donner's Chris Reeve movies. I love that show. You're not wrong. Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And that's kind of how these things always, like for me, they really impact. You never know how these things are going to impact in the future.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like what we were saying early in the stream, ads that the Keaton Batman gave us Kevin Conroy's Batman.
Mm-hmm.
It served the purpose for that series to be created. Like, okay, well, we need to capitalize on the Batmania that's going on because the kids were buying the toys like crazy from 89 through 92. So yeah, why? I mean, not like doing a Batman animated series at that point in time was a no-brainer.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they said, well, hold on, let's not just make this for kids, let's make this a darker toned series. Just phenomenal. And Kevin Conroy will be missed.
Yeah. Just working on some details. Any details here?
Details are good.
Mm-hmm.
David says Julie Newmar in her heyday, way better than the recent Catwoman, Kravitz and Hathaway. Oh yeah.
Oh, easily.
Julie Newmar, Lee Merriweather, Eartha Kitt, all three amazing. I think Lee Merriweather was only Catwoman in the movie, though, wasn't she?
I think so.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think she actually was in the TV series.
Yeah, I want to say that's the case, but they were all three amazing. I never understood why there were like three different Catwomen, but okay. As a kid, it didn't really matter. But yeah, I mean, like Anne Hathaway's Catwoman is very forgettable.
That's why I didn't like it.
Halle Berry's Catwoman is like you want to put your brain in a blender to forget it.
I don't know. There's many aspects of that one. Actually, I kind of enjoy it.
No, come on.
I'm one of the weirdos in that aspect. I will acknowledge. There were initial points I really actually did enjoy it.
You can't say that Michelle Pfeiffer is your favorite Catwoman and then say that you also like Halle Berry's.
Granted, I'm not strutting every time somebody mentions Halle Berry, but love you, Danny.
No, it's cool. It's cool. I mean, it's the same. I mean, which they should, if like DC ever makes a Steel film, with the character Steel from the Superman, Death of Superman comic book run, to
keep track away from it.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, I'm sure that people will always reference the Shaq Steel film from the 90s.
Those of us who actually remember it.
Yes, Terrence and I have talked about how garbage that is many times.
It was bad.
Yeah. I mean, he was in Los Angeles. He wasn't even in Metropolis. It's like, really? Okay. This is like so not connected to Superman, but you're still going with Steel. Okay. Got you. Oh, awesome. Megatron says, I gave Kevin a Batman sketch a couple of years ago when I met him. Nice. That is so cool.
That was the picture that you showed, I guess.
You know what sucks? Like the majority of the cast of Justice League, the animated series, was at Planet Comic-Con here in Kansas City, Missouri, this past spring. And I was going to go and get a poster signed, and I couldn't go at the last minute. And little did I know that would be my last chance to meet Kevin Conroy.
Oh man, that's awful.
It sucks. David says Newmar had conflicts.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never heard of the conflicts, but you know, being a woman acting in the 60s, I'm sure that there were numerous.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Retro No Girl says she enjoyed the Halle Berry Catwoman movie too.
Yeah.
You know what? You guys, you've convinced me. I'm going to give it another watch.
It is a fun movie when you take it in for what it is. I mean, it's not Selena Kyle. It is not even remotely accurate. Do I recognize the script has its plot points? Absolutely.
I mean, I'm not going to hate on the costume. Definitely not.
It is massively cheesy and campy, and
yes.
I do like that aspect of it. Do I like the script did fall eventually.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been a great movie because Catwoman is a great character.
Mm-hmm.
They just had the wrong people writing it.
Yeah.
I mean, and Halle Berry, she is a good actress. She could have knocked it out of the park with the right script.
And right there is, again, that's the reoccurring script issues. I hate that Halle Berry Catwoman movie. Don't hate her for it, but for taking the paycheck. She knew exactly what it was and hardly accepted her Razzie that year. And honestly, that was one of those moments that solidified it for me. Like I enjoyed the movie, but the fact that she was so, this movie is not what not as good as I'd hoped it would be. So,
honestly, I mean, they could. Catwoman was what, like 2004 ish.
I'm sure somebody in the chat will drop that down for me.
I would like even like as far departed as it was from Batman Returns at the time, I would have loved to have seen Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman movie because you know she is clearly alive at the end of Batman Returns. So yeah, I mean, she's my favorite Catwoman as well. So I mean, she after Batman Returns, I mean, they could have done a Catwoman solo movie.
For the most part, I think I'm happy with this. I may have to play with the background a bit more.
It looks great.
Yeah. But I think at this point, there's not much else other than lining that needs to be done, and lining is easier done off screen.
That makes sense.
So I think this is actually probably where I'm wrapping it up.
Cool.
Thank you for joining me. This was actually lots of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. It was a great talk. We haven't talked DC in forever.
You know, honestly, you and I have talked about doing discussion for forever. And anytime you want to pop in, more than welcome to.
Awesome. Okay. I will take you up on it.
Okay, much love to the replay crew who are going to stop by. Sean, give me deets to your channel. I will add it into the description.
Okay.
Other places you want me to, again, drop your info for the replay crew. Let people know where they find you and what you've got planned.
Got you. Okay. Well, you can find me on YouTube at Sean Stackhouse Reacts, on Twitter at Sean Stackhouse, and I have some video game streams coming up. I'm going to be doing Gotham Knights tomorrow, I believe, for the first time. So I'm excited to see how that game plays out. And of course, I'm doing a birthday stream today around 2:00 Central Time. So it's everybody is welcome to pop by, and yeah. Then other than that, much more DC content when it comes time.
Okay. Thank you, Grumpy. Dark Knight broods right in your hands. I may see if I can get that comment to actually stand the bite size. Thank you everyone for joining. I have no idea where we're sitting on the likes at this point, and much love to the replay crew and everyone who sat through this entire time. Yes, I will be posting both on Twitter and on Instagram when this is finished, because there is some inking that just needs to be done to clean up Batman himself.
Oh, Integrity says to check out those fan edits, Jurassic Improvements, Superman Redeemed, Batman Forecast Virtual Work Print, and Superman 2 Final Cut by Malachi Parker.
Malachi Parker.
Malachi Parker. Awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. I'll check that out.
Yes, I will go down that rabbit hole for sure.
Okay, and Megatron has drawing on Stephanie Brown's stream today. Of course, tomorrow you guys can find me on Makami Draws channel, where we do our Sunday draw stream. And I believe that he's been, because the time for that has updated till January for the rest of the year. It's going to be 11 Pacific, and which is 1 o'clock Eastern. But of course, go check out his channel, drop him some love as well, because many people would not be here without him. Many people would not be drawing without our lovable art pimp. Much love. Catch you guys later.